All right, well, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing today? You guys hear me okay? I'm a little short, so I got to put this mic down, so sorry. All right, well, first, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is William Rubio. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at CallTower. We're here to talk about a deep dive in Turnkey solution with Microsoft overall. So really talk about some of those key integrations overall. Before I go ahead and hand it off here to this great panel that we have, these are really some good guys that are up here, and I'm even talking about Jake there in the middle. So some good guys. I want to tell you a little bit about why we picked this session and one of the reasons why we're so excited about it. Everybody has seen the explosion of Microsoft Teams over the last few years, right? When we start talking about collaboration services and what Microsoft has done pretty much since right around 2017, they weren't even really considered a leader in the industry, and they've obviously come out and been a real disruptor in it overall. If you look at the stats, right around November of 2019, they were sitting somewhere around 20 million users. They came out around November of 2021, and there are 270 million users, as far as monthly active users, I should say, on Microsoft Teams. So big explosion on that. And obviously with Microsoft Teams and the way Microsoft likes to work, it's all about integrations and making sure that they're kind of at the core of all these different apps that work. And we're lucky here to have actually some good friends of ours that we partner with strategically to really make sure that we could bring a value add, not just to our partners, but also to your customers, to make sure that we could go ahead and provide a full end-to-end solution for them. So pretty excited about the conversation that we're going to have here. And all these guys like to talk a lot, so I think it's going to be really good overall. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to them. So Parker, why don't you start and introduce yourself, and we'll just go down the line.
All right, sure. Hi, my name is Parker Smith. I am Vice President of Business Development for Metaswitch UC at Microsoft. And for those of you who do not know, Microsoft purchased Metaswitch in 2020, and I am specifically focused on the UC product line. I'm based out of Huntsville, Alabama. I'm also going to talk about Teams connectivity and what is popular for connecting into Teams. Previously to Microsoft, I came out of Adtran in Huntsville, Alabama. I spent the last 23 years there and was focused on the UC product line at Adtran. Bryce.
I'm Bryce Drogosh. I'm with Singlewire, and we have an integration with CallTower we're excited about. What Singlewire does is provide a head-end platform that enables you to add things along the lines for mass notification, critical notifications, and we're integrated through the direct connect with CallTower to provide Teams phones to be able to be part of those notifications. So now, if you've got a solution that requires paging on Teams, we can provide that for you. We also do a lot of other types of things that are keeping people safe and informed.
Very nice. Hi, I'm Jake Butterbaugh. I'm with Five9. I get to lead our global partner organization, of which CallTower is one of our marquee partners. CallTower has been a managed services partner with us for, I think, 4 or 5 years now, and they sell our CCaaS solution, and they also sell our AI solutions with IVA. And they provide an integrated service with Microsoft Teams so that they have the full UCaaS, CCaaS solution, and obviously paired up with these guys.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Clint Edwards. I'm from Poly. We make devices. Hey, so we make phones and headsets and video. And so we have a long-standing relationship, both with CallTower as one of our service provider partners, and then also from an alliance perspective, we have a lot of things that we've done with Microsoft, and from that perspective, ranging again from headset integrations, phone, Teams running phones, to all sorts of different flavors of video and running those in different room sizes. So a great topic. We look forward to being with you today.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate all that. And we are going to hopefully have some time at the end for some Q&A. So if you guys do have some questions, we want to invite them. So definitely put them on the spot. I think it's really good when we do that, when it's kind of just a firing squad up here. So we'll do that good. So a couple questions, just kind of some general questions we want to get out. And Jake, I'm going to start with you on this one. Why are we seeing the demand for Microsoft Teams? I mean, what's kind of key there that you're seeing the demand with the combination of Five9 on the CCaaS side?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all obviously know that there's a substantial amount of Microsoft demand out there. Everybody has, well, not everybody, but lots of people have E5 licensing agreements, and there's been the massive migration to UCaaS and CCaaS solutions over the course of the last several years. At the start of the pandemic, we estimated that 15% of the contact center seats in the world were on the cloud. Now, coming out of the pandemic, we're at 27%. give or take. We expect by the end of 2024, and by the way, we're talking about millions of seats of contact center agents. We expect by the end of 2024, we'll be at over half of the contact center seats in the world will be cloud-based. What we're also seeing is a unification of the UCaaS and CCaaS deployment strategies. And it doesn't happen in sequence all the time. Sometimes it happens together. Sometimes it happens one at a time. But the amount of demand for CCaaS integrated to Microsoft Teams direct routing is through the roof. And so obviously that's the customer saying, I want the best of my conferencing UCaaS solutions. This is my choice. And then they want the best CCaaS solution, which hopefully every time that's Five9. And then together we have a good story. And for us, in terms of why we're seeing so much demand, the last part of that question is because we can get it done, right? So you can migrate this. This can happen in as short as weeks or months for some of the larger customers, but you can get this done. People believe this. That's the whole migration plan of record, and that is one of CallTower's superpowers, really, is to be able to do it well, and that was probably too long of an answer.
No, that was good, man. See, I told you they like to talk.
He makes me go first every time. I don't like it.
They're all my favorites, so but, you're my favorites. So, but on a serious note, on the CCaaS side, I think the last stat, and it's really hard to kind of put together, how many contact center seats are out there, but there's about 16 million is kind of the estimated. And like Jake said, about 27%, it's about 4.2 million are in the cloud. So there's still another 11.4 or 5 or 6, I guess, that are still out there. So just great opportunity to really transition from that prem base into the cloud and to do it with Five9, of course. So I want to do that. So Clint, same question.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched the trajectory of Microsoft for a long time, right? And it has been a player, and we have seen, especially from an enterprise adoption, it started there, where it started with messaging. One thing that clearly threw gas on the fire for full UC adoption has been the pandemic, and what we found is that we all had to become remote workers, and then we find that we kind of sort of go back to the office, but most of the people don't want to go back to the office all the time. So we think we're going to be in a perpetual hybrid workplace forever. Where there'll never be 100% of the people, 100% of the time in the same place working. And what that drives then is any business is going to have a solution that will be able to move from, again, an office to a home worker to on the road. And Microsoft is, they're in the right place at the right time and have a solution that does a lot of those things from a messaging, collaboration perspective, and so it's growing like crazy, and not just on the personal use case, but also in the room and in the corporation, because you need solutions that match up on both sides of that equation. Again, in this perpetual hybrid workplace. And so the numbers that we're seeing from pipeline for Microsoft connected devices are off the chart, especially the video category, interestingly enough, because it seems to move from just strictly voice communication to a need for much more robust visual collaboration experiences. And we're seeing businesses put their money where their mouth is on that front.
Is it, Clint, there's more like large-scale rooms the demands for, or more huddle rooms, or a combination? Where's that?
No, it's really all of them. Because what you have to do in the hybrid workplace is you have to rethink where people work. Because if I'm only coming into an office once in a while, it's now not about. I don't necessarily have to have my name on that office, right? Now I'm just going to show up, and I might just want to log in. Right, and hotel into that room for a little while, and then I'm out, because I'm only working 2 days a week in the office. Most of my work I'm doing at home, but I need obviously my persona, my contacts, my experience to move with me, whether I'm home or in the office. And by the way, if I move to a conference room, I want to know how to use the conference room and send out the meeting invite with the same meeting invite information, so that when everyone joins. It's business as usual and natural to join, again, conference room, home, personal office. But what that drives really is a variety of spaces. I think we'll see a lot more focus rooms, a lot more small conference rooms, as well as the large ones that exist. but all people won't be in those rooms. You're going to have them half filled with half the other participants, sitting from the other end of it.
Well, you guys have done a good job of, I remember walking into conference rooms and seeing 3 pages of how to connect to the device that nobody would ever use, right? So it's so thank you for making it simpler overall, because it really helps.
Yeah, it can't happen.
And you have $20,000 of equipment that nobody uses, right? That's sitting in there, So Bryce, you've been in collaboration for a while. Why are you seeing the demand for Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, ours can echo a lot of what Clint and said, that we're seeing a lot of our customers and clients that during the pandemic, they started working from home. And now that the pandemic's kind of coming to an end sometimes, the folks are coming back to their offices. So, but they want to maintain how they were working at home. And so a lot of our customers are coming back and they're rethinking their existing on-prem PBXs, and they're saying, I want to add my Teams voice to these Cal licenses that I've already got and then get them connected. And then when they do that, this is where they start to find some of the limitations that are in the Teams environment, such as simple things like paging, right? Or other types of connect my voice to the intercom system, lock doors, do those kinds of things. So our interest and what we're seeing a lot from the Teams folks is in being able to help them continue to deliver those workflows that they were used to having before the pandemic with their old PBX, but now do it with the person that's hot desking in with their Teams environment and give them the same capabilities that they used to have with that old hard phone. So that's where we're seeing a lot of that growth.
All right, and I kind of did that on purpose. I kind of picked on you guys like that because I wanted Microsoft
Go last.
to go last on that. Well, I wasn't seeing the demand for your product. So, Parker, kind of a little bit of a different view, right? Being on the inside, kind of looking outward.
A little bit. Within the Azure for Operators team at Microsoft, that's where Metaswitch is aligned. The Teams organization that we work side by side with, they're seeing about 285 million active monthly Teams users now worldwide.
So 285 now, no longer 270.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's growing. I mean, it is growing, and that number is probably a little higher than that now. Obviously the pandemic is probably the number one answer. I mean, that really sped the adoption of Teams usage and other solutions in the market that offered, remote connectivity, video and all that. Something that I personally have seen with large enterprises is during the pandemic timeframe, that gave a lot of companies the opportunity to migrate away from their legacy on-prem PBX solution. Some of them were maybe hosted. I think more of them than not have been a customer prem-based IPPBX solution. And it gave them an opportunity to migrate to Teams as a phone system replacement. And a couple of the companies that I'm familiar with who have done that, everybody now uses a Teams client. They may or may not use a hardware device such as a desk phone anymore. And because most of the employees are migrating from their house to their office and back and forth, they don't really need that hard phone like they used to when they were sitting at their desk full time. So I think that really, when you start thinking about large enterprises like that, I mean, these are 3,000 to 5,000 seats in an enterprise, and you start adding that up around the globe, and you can see quickly how those numbers add up.
Yeah, and I think that's a great segment, kind of going to shifting a little bit the key integrations, right? So, Clint, I'll pick on you first on this one, but obviously with Poly and what you guys have, obviously with Playtronics, what you guys did back a few years ago, the key integrations are there, right? So how is Poly playing really in that space with Microsoft Teams as far as being a key integration? You're always part of the conversation, right?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's really clear is a client, a solution, a UC solution can never be used in isolation. You're always going to experience it as a human via some form of voice, video, visual, experience. So from our perspective, what we're really trying to do is bring all the things that a device can bring to augment and improve the audio and visual experience for the user, and then sort of marry that on top of that consistent platform that they may be using in different places. So examples, we certify headsets so that when you hit the mute button here on your headset, it mutes it on the Teams client, for example. Another one in the video space might be There's like Microsoft wants to run their experience even on hardware in rooms, for example, and so they've made a Microsoft Teams for Android that runs on our Android-based video bars, for example. So again, it's the same experience that exists on the other platforms. Then there's also Microsoft Teams Room experience, which is extremely popular, in which case you're literally, again, running the same Teams experience on a Surface, but then you plug in intelligent cameras that allow the ability for, to frame up a room and find people and see who's speaking and only send those images across, so that, again, you sort of get this, a higher experience for all those remote participants, being able to see better who's in the room. And then obviously, have the, microphone pickup and everything that you need so that everyone's heard, whether they're 2 feet away or 10 feet away or 20 feet away. And so that, again, gets to the other side so that, it's really about sort of meeting equality, I guess. Everyone in the meeting can equally hear each other and participate, again, whether I'm in the room or out of the room. And then on the audio side, again, Microsoft has built an application that runs on Poly CCX phones that run Android, that again allows a native experience running on hardware, provides superior microphone and audio experience, while at the same time, again, the Microsoft Teams app that that kind of keeps it consistent for the user. So it's really all of those areas, ton of integration work, and everything that we come out with, there's always a solution and a certification and a version that's we put through the Microsoft certification process.
So, you and Parker kind of mentioned about that IP PBX, right, and kind of that replacement overall. You're starting to look at the IP phones and the different devices. So, key integrations, Bryce, we're talking about replacing that PBX, right, going more to the cloud, more of the collaboration. The key integration a lot of times is just things that people don't want to hear about or really want to kind of discuss. So, tell us about the Informacast, how that actually works. Why is that a key integration with Teams?
It's a key integration because if you want to use your Teams client, whether it be the soft client on your laptop or your cell phone or a hard phone, we got to have a way to trigger a notification or a way to connect your audio to the speakers and things like that. And the way we do that is with a SIP trunk. So if we got a SIP path to us, then we can use that for both the triggering and then also for the audio path to get that data out. And that's where we combine with CallTower, is that most of these companies today, if you're going to do that, you have to have that 3-letter dirty word, right, SBC, in there. So it makes it a lot more simpler and effective if we go to CallTower as a hosted SBC that's already connected to the Teams environment directly, and can simplify the process for us to be able to extend all these devices you may already have and use them with Teams for your paging or other type of critical notifications.
And so I'm going to pick on you now. So Jake, going to Five9, we're obviously seeing that transition of everybody kind of moving more to the cloud on the CCAS side, right? So the contact center, people looking at the traditional traditional contact centers like an Avaya and a Cisco and so forth. So Five9 competing and kind of moving it that way. How do you guys, or why is that key integration so important? And what are you guys doing to really differentiate that?
Well, I think the first thing we're doing to differentiate that is we do want to be the best CCAS solution out there on the market.
You guys are.
Well, we work hard at it, but ultimately when it comes back to the Microsoft connection to it, we have two technologies that work in conjunction. One's Telephony Connect, which is the SIP integration between our companies, as a certified integrated network partner, which is CallTower's classification. They're experts at that, and then we also have an adapter. So the adapter allows for calls and agents to be able to transition their calls back into a back office worker and vice versa. So that particular integration is key. That seamless experience is key. A customer wants to use their Microsoft Teams solution and they want the best CCAS solution, so we're trying to line that up. And then, we talk about the other adapters and the other connection points. There's a lot to that. So some of you guys may be aware of Microsoft Dynamics. That's how our relationship started. We have an adapter to that. We've got adapters to other CRM solutions and a whole ISV library that helps round out the whole experience, which is really what this whole panel's about, and really where CallTower differentiates itself is to be able to sell that whole solution, which is that picture right there. Yeah.
Is it over there?
Nice picture, all right. So, you know, and again, Park, I'm not picking on you to go last, but obviously a different aspect of it, right, with Metaswitch. Metaswitch being really kind of your more traditional UCaaS that's out there, and now being a part of Microsoft, I think in May is going to be officially 2 years, right? So coming up here now on 2 years. You know, there's a lot of key integrations on that PBX replacement that Metaswitch is kind of filling in those gaps, right, to work with the Microsoft solution.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, Metaswitch has a fantastic UCaaS platform, and CallTower is, you know, one of our partners that uses that platform. One of the key components in that platform is the session border controller. And the Perimeter SBC, that was a, you know, component that was part of the UCaaS portfolio for any service provider. And that typically is where all of the VoIP connections, that's kind of the firewall between the PBX and the outside network. And so now fast forward into Teams, you know, that is the product that is allowing us to have a certified connection. The SBCs that are certified for Teams, you have to be certified, number one, to be able to get PSTN connectivity into it. And, you know, I was talking about earlier about companies migrating away from their legacy phone systems. Well, they're not necessarily getting rid of their PSTN numbers. They're keeping all those DIDs, but now they need to transition those into the cloud. And that's where things like Operator Connect or Teams Direct Routing, using that session border controller, that's what's providing the PSTN connectivity and allowing those customers to keep their origination and termination from their old system into Teams.
All right. So Bryce, I'm going to keep going around here. What I need to do with InformaCast? Tell me how's that integration look?
Again, it's back to the SBC. We just got to have a SIP connection into our Fusion server, and that's what enables us to trigger notifications and then also take that voice and be able to put it out onto the devices that you want to send it to. So, you know, there's a couple different ways to do it. I think you can buy your own SBC that's a certified SBC and run it and try to manage it, or go to someone like CallTower, where you already have the SBCs hosted, you've already got redundancy in your SBCs, and you've got all of the PowerShell folks to be able to integrate it in with the Teams telephony. So it makes it a lot simpler, I think, to do it that way, but we see both. So for us, it's really all about getting us connected from a SIP path.
And Clint, what devices are you kind of seeing? What's kind of out there? Are people going back to more of the traditional handset? Are they going more to the headset? I mean, I know you mentioned earlier, you know, that mute button. You're working from home. You got the dogs or the kids in the background. How are you going to know how to mute and the noise canceling? So, you know, what are you seeing out there as far as some key devices?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll start from the home. Anyone that goes home, you really want one of two options. You either want a good headset if you don't have any sort of open office or ability to close a door, because you really do need the ability for your device to prevent unwanted sounds and unwanted conversations and unwanted chaos that I'm sure only happens at my house from bleeding out to the rest of the world, right? And so that's one of the technologies that you'd have on a headset, from a poly headset would be, the noise block AI, acoustic fence sort of things, what's trying to limit that outside noise and what's bleeding through. And then what you really need from a user perspective is to keep them from being distracted. So again, you can either close a door, in which case you're in good shape, but if you can't close a door, you might want some noise canceling headsets to, again, keep you on task and focused on what you're trying to do. So that would be kind of something you definitely want at the home. You might then augment that with a better camera. Sometimes the PC cam's enough, but if not, then you may want a USB camera. There's a couple, we do a few options ranging from a webcam to more of a little personal video bar with a higher end camera and built-in speakerphone microphone. So again, at that point, you're not wearing a headset, but just speaking normally, but you get a high-end experience and microphone pickup and even a little acoustic fence. It'll come out and sort of block off the noise that's coming from either side of you. So there's kind of that realm of product, and then as you move back into the office space, this is where it's really going to be about the work persona. What type of worker are you? Like a knowledge worker, for example, may be just fine, video all day. They get a soft client, that's all that they need, and a headset while they're at their office, while they're on their desk. but when they run, and then they run into a meeting room to do video, right? In which case you're using a room system. If you are but there's a lot of organizations that also have what I call info workers, right? They show up, they use technology, but then they go home and they don't take it with them, right? And that group still needs phones. That is one of their key things. They still use conference rooms. They still, they need that communication capability. And for that, you still continue to need devices, and obviously where phones will come in there. And interestingly enough, even the knowledge workers sometimes just want a superior audio experience than what the PC is going to give them, and they may not want to always, they may not want the headset on at that time either. So for those, again, a CCX phone running that Teams client will allow them to keep their computer screen clean while, in a way, while still being able to have that conversation and looking up things over here while having a dedicated communication device over there. Demand is really strong for all of the above products as we look at our pipeline and look at our what people are buying. We're really seeing it across the board.
At least from a CallTower perspective, going back to, let's call it March of 2020, kind of ground zero, right, with the pandemic, and at least here in the States overall, we saw a decline in the handset device, and we thought that's never coming back. And looking at the numbers and everything, we're actually seeing an increase again, kind of that traditional worker going back saying, no, I want that physical device. So are you seeing that across the board, or is that just something specific to us?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We see it all the time, and we've seen more increase, and we've had, as everyone knows, we've had supply challenges. We have not been immune to supply chain, and we can't make enough phones to supply the demand, and we're working hard at that, to get better, and we will get better. But demand, it did. There was a dip, but then demand by 2 quarters afterwards was what it was before the pandemic, and then it kept going for devices. And again, the only thing I would call to is, yes, there's everyone predicts the death of the desk phone over and over again, but it really hasn't panned out. And I think one of the biases that sometimes we have is sometimes we sort of over-rotate on the knowledge worker because they're like us, where we take technology home, but 80% of the workforce is not that, right? 80% of the workforce are people who show up to work, and then they go home, right? And so and those are the places where you'd actually need devices to manage that. And so, again, I think we've seen that with CallTower and others. It's just like as much as you think devices, aren't needed, it turns out they kind of are, and they're actually highly desired. And by the way, they make your service a lot stickier. They make you, as a partner, they make you a lot more valuable because, right, there's a lot more to the service, and it's tangible, and it's different than not having that. So, and the market's responded too. So, I don't know. We can't make enough phones. We can't make enough video devices. We're trying to, and we'll get there, but the demand keeps climbing, and so we're seeing the consistent theme there.
Yeah, no, we love selling them, so we'll keep selling them. So that's
I love that.
so that's good. So Jake, going a little bit more, flipping over to CCaaS. Not that I look at the numbers almost daily, but I do when we're looking at who's certified in Microsoft Teams and who's not, right? So you guys are one of the first to actually be certified with Microsoft Teams to actually have your CCaaS work. I think there's about 8 officially there. There's about another 12 that are in preview or trying to get there. I got to mention artificial intelligence, right? AI. So, how are you guys continuing to differentiate those type of services? Because now you're going to get more competitors in there, right?
Yeah, I love that. So I don't know if anybody here knew of the company Inference. A little over a year ago, we bought a company called Inference. It's an amazing IVA company, intelligent virtual agent company. It really expanded who Five9 is. So we went from trying to be the best CCaaS company in the world to then trying to be the best CCaaS and AI company in the world. And AI has this wide definition of who knows what it exactly is. But we were able to materialize it with IVA. And so, what we found is that during the pandemic and during all of this growth, staffing contact center agents is a challenge. And every time you staff a new contact center agent, it costs you $6,000. and it costs you a new headset, and that headset doesn't go to the next guy when that person quits, right? And so what we found was through the acquisition of Inference and making it our IVA solution, we were actually able to automate a bunch of workflows that were mundane tasks, password resets, things like that, and set up better queuing and better automated workflows for really big companies. And it's really been something that has helped us grow substantially. And you know, does it tie back directly to Microsoft? Somewhat. But it ties back directly to a full workflow that starts with an automated experience and eventually makes its way through a UCaaS experience and eventually makes its way back to the CCaaS experience. And if you can do that in a way that's connected, customers are eating that up, right? And so the other thing is, you know, many of you guys are partners in this room. It supersizes the deal. It makes it incredibly larger. So just
It makes it stickier too. I mean, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does. So Park, $1 million question, because I know we get this question asked daily. Now, Operator Connect, direct routing.
Yep.
What are they and what are the differences?
Good question. So Teams direct routing has been around the longest. That was a mechanism using a session border controller, sometimes at the customer prim, often at the carrier. That was a solution that enabled PSTN connectivity into Teams, but it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife because you get all the customization of the UCaaS PBX. If you need to integrate some of the features that are in the PBX into the Teams experience, you can do that through that connection. Now, one of the drawbacks about implementing the session border control with Teams direct routing is the customer has to manage it through PowerShell. So that some customers don't want to do that. Some customers have the carrier do that on their behalf, and the carrier has to log in and log in as the customer into that interface, and that works for many. Some folks don't like that, and that's where Operator Connect shines. Operator Connect is a solution that's fairly new. We were talking about it in November when we were out here. It really was just making its way known, and CallTower is one of our first service providers globally to be an Operator Connect partner. And what that does is it allows the service providers to have a place in the Teams admin portal where the local IT administrator can actually get into that admin portal and see the carrier. They can go in and do all their own moves, adds and changes. Everything is graphical. Everything's in the GUI at that point. There's no PowerShell that has to happen. In fact, the customer can manage it all themselves. They don't necessarily have to come back to you. So it allows it to scale much higher for the service provider. But that's a way for the service providers like you guys to be able to have visibility in the interface now worldwide. And so if a customer is needing to order new service, if they want to order new DIDs, they've got new employees coming on, or maybe they've had employees leave, they can go in and do those moves, adds, and changes and order new lines if they need to. And they could even be from different geographic locations if the service provider has the availability for those other locations. Again, back to Teams direct routing, that's another option that would allow, in your case, you guys are able to offer numbers from 100 different countries using Teams direct routing. So it does give you some more flexibility, but it is definitely a little more complicated to configure. So it really is all about the needs of the customer.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be one or the other. I think there's always going to be a play for both, right? It just depends. Obviously, the limitation of Operator Connect in some countries. Some countries, it's going to take years to get in there from an Operator Connect standpoint. Right. But the self-servicing portal is probably the most important. They all want to kind of do it out of one area, and you're already taking care of your administrative side from your employees and a Teams admin standpoint. So the voice is really just another application, right? That really comes down to
That's
it.
right. That's right.
So Bryce, a little bit about emergency notifications, right? Kind of another elephant in the room, and I don't know if everyone's up to date here the last couple of days, but the big issue, the shooting that happened over in New York City, over in the subway, I think it was on Monday, just horrible incidents. Emergency notification, right? It's a necessary evil. We kind of talked about that in November as well. So tell us more about that. What are the different ways to communicate when you have weather implications? I think a lot of folks here probably landed during the dust storms, and their planes were kind of a little crazy, right? And then, obviously the horrible tragic in New York. So tell us about some options there and where it's really key.
Yeah, so we obviously been doing this for 20 years, and the biggest thing about SingleWire is we try to focus on the speed and the reach. What we mean by that is we want to be able to, with one button push, send out notifications to everybody in under a second and send it to them in as many ways as possible, right? And this is where Teams comes into play now. I can set up a Teams user to get a message in their chat, or I can set it up to a channel within Teams to get a notification in the chat. It's just one more way of getting at someone and making sure that they're getting the information that they need. And of course, the rest of our stuff goes in there as well. So from a Teams phone now, if you've got a shooter on site incident like the subway, and you just press a button either on the hard phone or on the soft client, dial a number, we can send out the pre-recorded messages and images to everyone. And then we can do it through SMS, we can do it through email, we can make phone calls, we can light lights, lock doors, do whatever. And so the key is to have one system that can be triggered with just one button. Because there's a lot of solutions that are out there, especially in schools and hospitals, where over time they've had to have code blues, code reds, emergency notifications in a classroom, those kinds of things. And they've put a siloed approach, and they've got like seven different systems just to do the one set of messaging. And typically, an event is going to be done in under 15 minutes. So time is of the essence. So having a way to do it from one button is critical. And that's what they're starting to learn now, right? Is when these things happen and only 3 systems get triggered, what happens to those other 4 systems and the people that are connected with those systems? They don't get the message, right? And they're at risk. So companies are doing it for a lot of reasons, mainly to keep their people safe and informed, but also from a financial impact. If they aren't notifying people of this type of an event, they're at risk of a lawsuit, right? So we're seeing a lot of that kind of thing. So with the SingleWire, we're able to do all that stuff in under a second and hit everything as many ways as possible.
Oh, that's a pretty short time frame, under a second, but it could definitely, all kidding aside, it could be definitely different between saving lives or not.
Yep.
Right? So I think it is important. So Clint, talking a little bit about the devices, right? We always talk about the native devices that are certified within Teams, right? But now you got SIP gateways out there, right? So tell us a little bit more about that, because you got a lot of traditional devices that are not certified to work in Teams, but now you got kind of that SIP option. It was a big thing that Microsoft announced that worked with you guys to go ahead and deliver.
Yeah, I mean, so there's kind of like 3 ways to communicate with Teams, and we've talked already about 2 of them, which was, one is native, which is you're running a native Teams app on a device, and then the communication's all happening out of that app and just going out the wire, and it's all native. We also talked a little bit about the direct routing or operator connect. You can actually connect, you can have phones that are registered to an open SIP platform that are then connected via direct routing that would still allow, that type of phone to make phone calls back into, again, Teams clients and whatnot. So that also is a method. And then where you're headed is Microsoft is now offering, this SIP gateway in the cloud, which is sort of Microsoft controlled, but it will allow SIP devices to register and do some basic functionality. It's a limited functionality. It's just whatever a limited set of capabilities. But if you just need kind of the proverbial dial tone or ability to make a call and receive a call and do some basic functions, it's an option out there for sure.
It's actually a good option for customers that want to keep their, the investment that they've already made in maybe VVX phones, for example, with you guys. You got a customer that's got, several hundred of those out there. That's a big savings if they don't have to buy new handsets. Absolutely. And same thing for you guys. If you were offering that, you don't have to buy new handsets for them, and they can reuse all that. It is fairly limited as far as what you see on the phone, but it is very functional.
Yep, and it definitely works. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're seeing, at least we're seeing a lot more demand for the hybrid solution, right? They're starting to move parts of their business over into it. Usually it's a CapEx cost that they're saying, hey, I got too much invested in the devices. They move maybe the contact center, as kind of option 1 that they start moving over and then kind of go there. So Jake, as far as that goes, we're seeing Microsoft Teams is really working with the SMB. It's working with the enterprise customer, the strategic customer overall. We know that you had a big growth with enterprise customers. Where's kind of the market going for, or probably a better question is, what's a good use case of Five9 with Microsoft Teams? Where are you kind of seeing that excel?
I guess the best use case at this point in time for us is typically what we're finding is that people who have a Microsoft Enterprise License Agreement, they've already kind of put together their plan of record for when are they going to move their UCaaS. What we really like to do is we like to basically jump in on on that movement and then say, hey, are you ready to move your CCaaS as well? And do you need them to be integrated? I think honestly, and I grew up in doing UCaaS, I've been impressed by the CCaaS migration motion of late. People are actually packing up their old CCaaS. You brought up some of the older competitors of ours. They're saying, okay, it's done. I'm done. I know at some point I'm going to move to Microsoft Teams, but I'm done with my legacy contact center deployment, and I just want to move to the best solution as quickly as possible. And so what we're finding is that our UCaaS flexibility and our willingness and able to integrate with Microsoft Teams is giving us the opportunity to actually kind of jump in and make that move quicker, and then UCaaS follows up behind it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does a lot. So we're seeing a demand. We're seeing a large demand, not just customers migrating to the cloud from a CCaaS solution, but also folks that before were using a basic hunt group, right, or a call queue, if you want to call it in Microsoft world, and now all of a sudden they're moving more into a CCaaS solution overall. So kind of new logos going into it overall as well. So Parker, we got a lot of integrations up here. We got a lot of different apps, right? How are all these beneficial to that Microsoft business customer? Why is it key and those customizations important?
Well, obviously we all use, the majority of us probably in this room are, using Microsoft Office in our daily work lives. And so to have that embedded functionality, you've got all this extra functionality now that's overall in that Teams experience that's integrated with, PowerPoint and Word and Excel, et cetera. And having everything in one location, that's awesome, in my opinion. It's fully integrated, whether it's, getting an event notification or a warning message coming from Informacast or having, a call center agent being able to use the Teams interface and still being able to look at it a spreadsheet, for example, or to have them tied together. That's pretty huge. So.
Yeah, and the IT organizations, I think I was talking to one of you yesterday about this, but the IT organizations, 10, 15 years ago, had the ability, had the time to really do some research as far as I need to get these different vendors. There's such a demand to, marketing saying I need an e-commerce site, right? Accounting saying I need integration to my CRM tool. They become more of a profit center, right, as far as the demand goes for their individual business units. So they're looking more for us to go ahead and deliver those solutions and provide that research for them because they don't have the time.
Yeah.
They don't have they want to have the
You're the expert.
Yeah, they want to look just for the expert and say, give it to me all.
Right.
In that sense. So is there we're close here to wrapping up, any questions in the audience that we could answer? Now, it has to be a question for these guys, not me. But any questions? I could single you guys out or we could keep going. No? Going once? Going twice? All right. There's a quiz at the end. You guys know that, right? Now that we get out of here, there's a quiz. So
Question is what the prize is, right?
that's it, right? That's a prize. You win a free phone. You win one free AI, right? So we'll get some stuff. So a couple more minutes, just kind of closing remarks. Bryce, why don't we start with you with some good closing remarks here, just overall in the industry, or a little bit.
I think for this community here, I think what we're offering is an ability for you to have some additional conversations with your customers, help get you more sticky with them. I think from our standpoint, from a Singlewire perspective, what we've helped a lot of other partners like yourselves is to move to other lines of business units to help find different funding that are tied to this whole solution with all the integrations, right? So no longer is it just talking to the IT guys. You might want to go talk to the physical security guys or the HR department or a safety team. A lot of people got safety teams. So it does open that up. So what we're providing not only is those additional dollars by pulling in the applications, but we're also providing a better positioning and closing capabilities with these types of solutions. So, and then the other thing I would close on too is there's a lot of we're seeing a lot of activity with teams in verticals. So if you're supporting, or you got customers or clients that are in education or healthcare, or in other facilities-based functionality like retail shops, things like that, that's where we're seeing a lot of the activity right now, and moving over to Teams Voice and adding all these additional capabilities.
Great. All right, Parker?
Well, just thinking about teams in general, I mean, this is such a different conversation than what we would have had 3 years ago, and things like the pandemic pushing everybody forward to adopt these type technologies. And now, the fact that the carriers like CallTower are able to provide PSTN services, that was really hard before. And for an enterprise who wanted to add PSTN services, they had to invest a lot of time and effort and money into that whole process just to get over the hump of getting connectivity into it. And now with things like Operator Connect, I mean, we're now seeing around the world PSTN connectivity options. And I think, going forward, it's not necessarily the UCAS that we're familiar with from the past 10 years, but it is a platform now that everybody is used to, everybody's using it, and to be able to use that as the phone system, as a replacement for an enterprise-wide phone system, that's huge. And I think going forward, we'll see more and more functionality added to the handsets, for example. We talked about the Teams Gateway, the SIP Gateway in there, being able to use your existing endpoints. I mean, that's pretty big that you can do that now.
Yeah, it's supposed to get easier, right, with technology advancing and everything we have. I mean, those days, I remember the old days of, the hot cuts, right? It was the whole day, the IT guy sitting there all day and kind of waiting. So that's good to see that it is getting easier but also more complex, right? I mean, in a lot of cases, because now you're adding a lot more into that solution.
Yeah.
So, Jake, same thing, closing remarks.
Yeah, I think I'd just close out by saying that, customers big and small right now are investing in customer experience. It's one of the things that they know they have to do to survive. And what they're really looking for is they're looking for a managed service, a holistic service, a fully integrated service, and a migration plan, right? That's what hopefully you guys are all talking to people about. Hopefully this panel and what CallTower delivers is something that you can have trust in. We do trust them as a partner to help us deploy that whole message. And, I really do believe the customer experience wave is going to continue for a long time, and hopefully you guys maybe got a little bit out of this conversation.
Actually, being that we're in Las Vegas, I was going to bet $5 with Clint that somebody was going to ask him about HP, and nobody did. So I think I'm going to I saved the $5, right?
That's right. You can't do it. And I can't say anything anyway, so what can I do?
Well, these are all trusted advisors here. We're good.
Right. No, I'm just, at the end of the day, I think if I could leave you with anything, it would just be, as you're talking with customers, and I would go with what Jake's saying, start with the customer experience. Who are they? Who are the people in the organizations of the customers you're talking to? And then start thinking about, okay, what are the people? What are they doing? Where are the spaces they're working on? And to get them a kind of a flexible, consistent experience. And you have Teams as a tool, but then also don't leave out the opportunity to curate a set of devices that can surround that experience in all of those spaces, because you will add value to the service, it will add customer satisfaction to your customers. Because the last thing you really want is a customer, getting this wonderful solution and then degrading it with with experiences, devices, and other things that that aren't really built for the spaces that they're working in. So I would just, again, I'd leave you with that. Start with the people, think about the spaces they work in, and then just get them matched up with curated device technology that will make their experience better, and that'll make you a star. It makes the service look better. Microsoft's happy, right? And at the end of the day, it's really all about enabling workers to do what we do, and that's, move the ball forward with whatever organization, work, strategy we're in. And it's an exciting time to be able to all be part of that puzzle to make that happen.
Well, guys, I want to say thank you first and foremost, because today is Wednesday, so that means everyone's kind of a little leery already. Monday and Tuesday being already out here, and everyone's kind of starting to drag a little bit. So definitely get that. But first and foremost, each one of you guys represent a company that's a key integration in some cases, the core platform, right, to CallTower and to the success that we have. But more important than that, I really want to thank you guys for the support that you provide to our customers and our partners that are out there daily going ahead and promoting CallTower and promoting your services. So guys, thank you very much for being up here. I know it's always not an easy thing to put you guys on the spot, but really appreciate it. So thank you guys, and thank you for your partnership.